Hello there survivors and welcome back to another video in ARK Survival Ascended. Today we're taking a look at 50 of the best base building locations for PvE if you're looking for some nice spots to build beautiful bases. And I've tried to include spots from all the different biomes on the map. Of course, one of the best things about Ragnarok is all the variety that we can find here. So there's plenty of different spots, from just wide open spaces that are flat for your biggest building dreams to caves, ruins, of course, and of course visiting all the different biomes to get a place pretty much anywhere. So whether you're looking for a build location in a specific biome, or you're just looking for some general inspiration, or for that spot that's still left over on the server that you're playing on, this might be the video for you. And if you're still looking to host your own server for Ragnarok, you can use my link. It's down in the description below, and it really helps support my channel as well. And if you enjoy seeing these videos and you want to see more, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I will definitely be building in some of these locations. And location number one is actually a brand new spot on the map. It's the new island added to the Highlands, which is a really beautiful addition. It's actually a huge island, including a smaller separate island all the way at the back actually. So there's a lot of space here. Mostly it is very flat as well. So even for your biggest building projects, you can definitely fit a lot on this island. It has all the flat areas. It has a beautiful lake in the middle, some nice coastlines, of course, even a little lighthouse ruin, as well as these lovely cliffs that you could even build something on top of. I mean, imagine a castle all the way here at the top. That would look really cool. You have another lighthouse here. It's not the iconic one that we remember. That's over on the main highlands, but there is another one here, and there's just so many good spots here. Like, there's relatively flat areas everywhere. So no matter where you want to start building, there's just so much potential here, even for like giant building projects. There's a lot of room here. There's a beautiful lake here with some beaver dams as well. Like, just a bunch of space. I think also the new bison, they spawn here too, so there's a lot of room for your building dreams. And as I said, there's two of these cliffs that you could definitely utilize, and there's even a smaller separate island all the way at the back here. So no matter what you're planning, this is a pretty good location with a lot of possibilities. And this giant new island is located right here on the top right of the map. And the next location is in the main highland area, in these lovely spikes, which is a really cool backdrop. Of course, you've got this river with a little canyon flowing through, lovely waterfalls to look at, and I would definitely love building like a base or like a little town around here, because I mean, you just have lovely epic landscape all the way around. You even have one of these bridges here in the middle, like a pre-built bridge, which is a really cool structure. And this is probably where I would place a main base build. So you could build on this side, but you could even, of course, build on the other side as well. You have these amazing epic looking spikes all the way around you. You're still close to the ocean for access, and you're also right next to the Wyvern Trench, of course, to get your Wyvern to fly around and soar around the epic highlands here. But I think this is a really cool and unique location, and definitely one of the iconic spots of Ragnarok. And this iconic location is located right here on the map. The Highlands, of course, can be home to quite dangerous creatures, so maybe you want to find some more safety. Well, there's actually a little cave right behind this waterfall, located right over here, and you do have a decent amount of space. It's not the biggest base, but yeah, if you want to have a very safe location, just place down a gate and you have a whole cave to yourself. You can do a little bit of breeding here. You even have a little water pond as well to utilize. Definitely not the biggest location, but if you want to go live in a cave, this could be a good option. And of course, we can't visit the Highlands without visiting this iconic lighthouse, and it definitely makes for a fun base location. There's a little bit of rough terrain around here, but you know, being a little bit creative with some pillars and stuff, you can definitely still add some builds to this place, and then you'll be living in a really iconic location. Of course, you can utilize the lighthouse in your design as well. You've got these lovely purple flowers all the way around, and of course, epic views over the rest of the Highlands, the old Highlands, as well as the brand new island that has been added right there in the distance. So it's definitely an iconic and fun location to build a base. And it's located right here on the map. Another pretty decent location here in the Highlands is actually this spot right here, which has a relatively nice and flat area that you could utilize. It's right along the river connecting this Highlands to the new island. But yeah, you do have a decent amount of space here. You could even expand a little bit, or you could go a little bit higher and you could build a farm here in this farm field. It might be a little bit hard to spot, but there's actually carrots and potatoes right here in this field. So yeah, definitely also a good option, either all the way down here or right here around the farm field, maybe building a little farmstead or ranch for your new bison friends. And if you want to build right over here, well, the farm is located right here on these coordinates. But if you want to go right along the edge of the river, that's located right over here. A bit higher up in the Highlands, you've got this little ledge right here, which has a decent amount of relatively flat space to utilize. You still have the cool backdrop there of those spikes, the iconic spikes of the Highlands, as well as the lighthouse in the distance, and of course Redwoods close by, as well as the Wyvern Trench right next door. Easy water source, and even a nice little bridge already present. So definitely a good location to build on. Of course, the Highlands can be quite dangerous, so you'd have to take that into account, but definitely a good spot if you need some decent space for a base. It's located right over here on the map. Of course, there's another cave here on the Highlands. It's located right here along the ocean, so you can actually go in from the water, and you of course have plenty of space to do your own ocean tame breeding, because you have a relatively nice, big and deep area to use for water tames. There isn't a lot of land here, as you can see, but you can quite easily come to a solution by using some cliff platforms around the edges, or even against one of these, so that you still have a decent amount to build your own base as well, and you have your water tames right below you. And of course, it should be pretty safe in here. I don't think much is gonna come in here, so yeah, you have a pretty cool but hidden location right here. The entrance you can find right here on the map. You could even combine that with the lighthouse base if you wanted to, because that one is right above here. Moving on here into the Redwoods, there's a lovely little area right here on the edge with a small little lake, as well as the first redwood tree. You could definitely utilize, of course, that one to build a nice tree house base, or you could build right here along these ledges so that you can enjoy the views of the Highlands in the distance. I mean, you could even build somewhere up here. I mean, there's pretty epic views from here, and you could even, of course, expand all the way around the lakes. So you could probably have a few buildings right here enjoying the views, and you could even then add your treehouse builder right there, maybe as a kind of aviary or something like that. Could be a really cool location, because it is a very beautiful spot. It's located right over here on the map. If we move on to the middle of the Redwoods, we have an absolutely stunning location. It's kind of an open clearing right in the middle of the Redwoods, so there's no redwood trees right here, which means there's a lot of nice space here to build a relatively big base, still being surrounded by the redwood trees, but having an open, clear view, so you're not covered in the shade of the trees, which is quite cool. You got epic waterfalls coming down on pretty much all the sides. It's very, very nice here. Definitely enough water access. There's beavers all the way around as well. Very cool location. And of course, if you want to build a treehouse base, there's plenty of trees here to pick from on the edge of the clearing. So it is a really cool, unique location. Lots of rivers here. Lots of relatively good flat areas to build with. And more importantly, just epic views, but still having a nice clearing, so you're not too much in the shade and you can still have the awesome light and sun in the day. And it's located right here on the map. Another stunning location here in the Redwoods is right over here. You've got this giant lake, which is really, really cool. You even have the snow right on the edge, although you don't want to go too far, of course. It's the murder snow, quite dangerous to go and build there. But it is a very cool location here with some more waterfalls, as well as some decent spots to build. I would personally probably build somewhere around here. You got some decent flat ground so that you could use this as like a main base location, and you could even have a tree house addition as well. And of course, there's a few other trees around here. For example, that one, that would be really cool to pick as your base location. If you're wondering where this is, if you want to build right here, it is located right here on the map. Then next up is an absolutely epic ruins location. As you can see, it is a new addition to the map as well. This mountainous island of the Redwoods is a brand new addition, and we have a very awesome cool bridge here crossing from the mainland over to this new island, and we have an entire castle ruin right there. This is of course a prime base location to rebuild, and I think you could definitely do something really, really cool here. In fact, I think I will be rebuilding this at some point for sure. And yeah, you have a decent amount of space here, a lot of variety as well, different towers that you could utilize, as well as some lovely little buildings that you could try and rebuild. You got some nice pools and little garden areas around as well, nice big gateways and plenty of spaces to utilize, and even some bigger spots here around the main part of the castle that you could rebuild and add to, so you could really make it your own. So definitely a really cool, unique location, and of course very fitting for a place like Ragnarok. And if you're wondering where it is, it's located right over here on the map. And on the same island, there's actually another really good location on the other side of this mountain. You can see there's some really good landscaping here as well. That definitely is prime for some building spots. Whether you want to build right here along the edge, build a base right here on the cliff, and maybe have something in the ocean as well for your water tames. Or you go right over here. It is relatively good as well. There's some flattish spots around. Of course, these hills might be a little bit challenging to build on, but could definitely be done. And then right over here, of course, if you clear out some of these trees, there's definitely some more prime building locations that you could be utilizing. And you have, of course, the awesome mountains and even the redwoods as a backdrop. You could also build some tree houses here if you wanted to. And you also have the desert in your front door as a pretty epic view. So if you're wondering where this is, it's located right over here on the map. The next location is another really cool epic spot right over here with these three great waterfalls that of course look amazing, and you're in this lovely valley with epic mountains all the way around and the volcano in the distance, so you might get a little show to watch at some points. And there's a few options here. You could definitely build something really cool around this lake, building on top of these little islands, you know, expanding. It's not very deep, so you could easily build out as big as you want, and you have the nice backdrop of the waterfalls, but you're still far enough away that it's not going to be too loud. And of course, you also have some more waterfalls flowing down from that side. So in general, pretty amazing views. You could also, of course, build on top of these cliffs if you just want to have the waterfalls as views and make sure that you really can't hear what they're doing. You know, you don't want to have the loud noises. If you do choose to build right here on the lake, it's actually a really cool option. Combine it with the little cave that is right here behind this waterfall, the left one, and then you have a little cave that you could utilize as part of your base. Pretty nice here, and as you can see, you have a little bit of water. You could probably maybe breed certain creatures, probably not everything, but at least it is something. And you have a little hidden cave location that you could utilize in combination with your main base down here. If you're wondering where it is located right here on the map. The next location is this awesome valley with, of course, some beaver nests as well. There's a beautiful big lake, which is definitely a cool option as well if you maybe want to go for a lake base. It is beautiful here. You've got the waterfall and the river flowing down, as well as, of course, this part over here with more beaver dams. So you probably can build somewhere here, still keeping some of the beaver dams intact. Actually, a really nice spot would be this little valley here. If you clear out the trees, it's relatively flat, and you have pretty nice locations with the lakes right next to you. Hopefully you can keep those spawns safe so you can always grab some cementing paste whenever you need it. And it is a pretty cool and epic location. You could even utilize the hill and add something on there. So if you think this might be something for you, surrounded by these epic views, it's located right here on the map. Probably one of Ragnarok's most iconic locations is this castle, and it's looking even better in the new remastered version. And this is definitely a really cool option. Not the easiest one, even though you would have an entire castle to conquer and call home. You can probably repair the bridge if you try, and you could definitely repair the castle if you try. The main issue, of course, is going to be taking care of the current inhabitants, which aren't necessarily very friendly, and there's quite a lot of them everywhere. So as long as you can take care of those, you could definitely do something really cool in this location, of course, turning it into a really cool epic base spot. And yeah, having an awesome castle all to yourselves, including a way back down into the caves, of course, that are below the castle as well. So very cool location. And yeah, if you are brave enough and can be bothered taking out all the spawns here, you could have a very cool castle build. It is located right over here on the map. Another really good option if you do not want to build in the castle, but in the area here and have the castle as a nice backdrop, is these cliffs right next to it, because it is a relatively flat area, so you have really easy building space available here. And of course, you got some pretty cool views all around you with these lovely valleys around you, the mountains and the cliffs around you, and of course the epic castle view. So definitely a lot of potential here, and as I said, just a really good spot because of all the space that you can easily utilize here. Because I mean, yeah, look at this, it's pretty flat. If you take away the rocks, take away the trees, there's definitely lots of building potential. And if you want to build right here, it's located right here on the map. And another location with the castle views is right over here on top of these cliffs, because as you can see, another really flat location with a decent amount of space that definitely could use a very nice base on it. You could either build somewhere over here. Actually, all of these cliffs on top of here are pretty good. Even here down the side is pretty nice with a little lake if you want water access. So again, lots of potential to do something cool here. And you even have, well, it's kind of a cave that you have in here with an opening outside. So you could even build in here or utilize this, or keep it because it has pretty good metal spawns over here. So it could be a really good addition to just build over here and then use that as your mining location right next door. And yeah, have a pretty epic view as well here on the northern cliffs. So if you want to build here, it's right here on the map. Then we're here at the lovely Viking Bay, an iconic location, of course, and good news for everyone that likes to build in a cave, because through this rib cage and behind the waterfall is a cave located right here on the map, and definitely potential for an early starter base, because this is a pretty good region to spawn at. And then if you go inside, you will notice that you will have plenty of water, so you can even do some breeding here for your water tames. And you have this ledge above that you could build a base on, so really cool. And you have plenty of light streaming in as well. You have some cool bones coming in through the ceiling, so it's definitely a really cool and unique location to turn into a base and to enjoy the safety of a nice cave. And if you want to honor the Beach Bob name, this is a pretty nice beach here in the Viking Bay with the epic castle right there in the background as well. Although with the addition of the elephants right here, you will have some neighbors that will be, you know, quite territorial, so you might want to look out for those. But yeah, Beach Bob has to do what a Beach Bob does. Although, yeah, the elephants are definitely making Beach Bob lives more difficult everywhere. But it is a pretty nice beach, not too steep or anything, so pretty flat for a little, you know, thatch hut or maybe a little Viking home, because we are here in the Viking Bay. But I figured I would at least have to have a few of these beach options for all the beach bobs out there. So if you want to build here, it's located right here on the map. And maybe you're thinking the beach isn't safe anymore with these elephants. You could also move on right over here onto this land bridge that connects the one side to the other side, because at least there you be a little bit safer of the elephant neighbors. Then one more spot right here next to the Viking Bay, and that is this one. It's a pretty good location for a starter base, judging by the fact I've already built my starter base right over here. But yeah, you could build right here on the beach, but actually also you have these platforms right back here that are relatively flat and definitely provide you some cool options and some different layers for a really cool starter base right here at the Viking Bay. And again, with those iconic views of the castle, the bay itself. You have, of course, the classical skull here, the whole skeleton actually, which is a really cool piece. And you're actually also pretty close, I think, to one of the artifact caves that is over there. So it's a pretty decent spot to call home. And if you want to build here, it is located right over here on the map. And another really iconic ruin location is, of course, this awesome ruined bridge right here in the jungle areas of the map. And you have the beautiful lake right next to it, but also you have this big cliff here in the middle with some more ruins along the side, which are pretty cool to explore and maybe to utilize as your own base. You know, you could go heavy on those creepy vibes, but yeah, this bridge with the waterfall is pretty cool. And then you have another ruin here where the staircase starts that you could try and rebuild. But on top of this cliff, you not only have a lake, so you have plenty of water access, as well as the cliff itself being relatively flat. So if you want to do some bigger building around this, there's definitely a lot of good options here to make something really cool. And if you do decide to build here, it's located right over here on the map. And located right here in the jungle as well is actually a giant cave location. The land entrance is located right over here, and this brings you into a really big and cool cave with lots of potential for a base, or even multiple bases, to be honest, because it is quite big. You have this land bridge that takes you into the cave, and as you can see, multiple ways to go and multiple places to build. Lots of water as well, quite deep, and even water access, because if you go follow through this one, you'll get to the water access, which actually does connect to the ocean as well. So you can actually go all the way to the ocean from here, which is quite cool. But yeah, you have a lot of space here, both on the land as in the water. And right here in the middle, you have a pretty big space with really good light coming in as well. Different layers, even more water. You have another platform up there as well to utilize. The cave goes back here a little bit as well, so you can see plenty of space. And if you have some flyers, you can also just fly out right like this, and you're right at the waterfall and the giant ruined bridge. So definitely a really cool and unique location that could be a really cool base spot if you want to build kind of in a cave, kind of out in the open, I guess. It's kind of a mix of everything. So there's a lot of potential here to do some epic base building. And another pretty nice spot here in the jungle is right here on the edge of these cliffs, because as you can see, it is, well, relatively flat, or at least workable with the terrain. And especially if you use some pillars, there's some different spots that you could pick. This platform here. There's a lot of options here to build something nice. And the good thing is you'll have a pretty great view of the Viking Bay. That is, of course, always nice, as well as, of course, just having some awesome views right next door of these waterfalls, etc. So yeah, if you want to build right over here, it is located on the map at these coordinates. And maybe you want to build a treehouse base, but you don't want to go and live in the redwoods. Well, there's actually a few trees here in the jungle area that do allow for some tree platforms, as you can see. So if you want to build a cool treehouse base, but you want to still live in a relatively cool biome, this is a good spot. There's actually also some open space here, so you could expand. You've got some beautiful waterfall views right here in the heart of the jungle. So if you want to build right here, it's located right here on the map. There is also a few other trees right here in the biome. As you can see, there's one more over there and one more over there. So there is some options, but personally, this location I find really cool because of it being right in the middle of the river, waterfalls around you, and even a good opening right here to utilize as part of your base. And the next location is another ruin that you could try and rebuild. It is right here in the middle of the lake. So for your water teams, you'll have a decent amount of space because it is quite deep. Yeah, there's also some silica pills right here at the bottom and even some crates to get you started with some free tools. So definitely a really cool location. Then I think there's also some old spawns here. Yeah, look at that. The little guys are already swimming around. So that's also a pretty nice addition to have. And if you think this might be a little bit too small to rebuild as a base, you could utilize this as the middle of your water pen. And you could do your ocean breeding right in here. And then you could actually also build right on this cliff at the side. Pretty cool location with the waterfall coming down out of the snow biome. Pretty cool, decent amount of space there, so you could definitely combine the two in a really cool and unique base build. It's located right here on the map. And if you've always thought that monkeys are pretty awesome, this location might be the one for you, because you've got some awesome monkey statues here, as well as some pillars forming a nice circle. So you could try to build something here, and then you would even have this head that you could utilize as part of the foundations of your base. Pretty decent already to have this as a location, but if you explore a little bit further, there's actually much more to this location. There's some walkways going around, including if you follow them all the way through, you get to these ruins right over here that you could try to rebuild to their former glory. So that could be kind of another part of your base. So it's a little spread out, but I think it could be really cool. And if you follow the pathway all the way down, you also have this big staircase coming to this platform, and that could definitely be turned into a decent build. So it's kind of spread out. You also have this cliffside that you could definitely utilize. So around these ruins, there's definitely options to kind of expand, but I think it could be a really fun project, especially if you like the monkeys with all these cool statues around. Yeah, just a really cool and unique location. As you can see, I mean, there's all sorts of things here to have as part of your base, or at least as the backdrop of your base. So no matter what, if you decide to build right in the circle, rebuild the ruins, do a bit of everything, definitely a lot of cool things that you could be doing here. So the coordinates of this location are right here on the map. And another really cool ruin that you could call your home is the Swamp Castle, which looks absolutely amazing as well. It's got some really cool stairs right in front of it leading up to the castle itself. The castle itself has a decent size, and you could definitely have some additions on some of the towers and some of these platforms. You have a very nice courtyard as well, and maybe the biggest surprise of all is the fact that there's absolutely cats everywhere. They're everywhere. There's so many of them, so that can be a good thing or a bad thing, of course, because, well, if you don't know, the cats can either like you or hate you or be kind of neutral to you. So chances are that you will get a cat here, but the chances are also that you get a cat to the face here. So you might want to be careful clearing this out, but it is a really cool place. Pretty big, of course. Definitely a lot of potential rebuilding this one. And if that's not even enough for you, there's actually some more ruins around the swamp that you could definitely, you know, spread out to rebuild the entirety of this. Actually, pretty decent location here as well, if you want to add some of your own builds to it, because there's, well, just a little bit of extra space here. Of course, it is still a swamp, so do expect some hostile creatures around you, but definitely a really cool and unique location. Definitely worth trying to rebuild, in my opinion. So if you want to brave the swamp, it's located right here on the map. And if that isn't enough reasons, there's also a Shrek house here. You could actually live in the Shrek house now. So yeah, you could do that. That's pretty cool. I would live here. It even includes a little toilet, a little outhouse here. So, you know, you could do whatever you want here. It's perfect. This is a great location. Maybe you don't want a castle. Maybe just live here instead. Then we have the third new addition to the map, which is another huge island right next door to the swamp that we just took a look at. And it is another really good build location for people that like to build massive bases, because as you can see, it is nice, big, open lands that are relatively flat again, and you have this nice little river flowing through it. You could use as your water source, of course. There's also some higher up places if you rather build on a cliff. Maybe you want to build a castle or something like that. You also have this valley between these mountains that you could utilize. Beautiful waterfalls. So there's definitely a lot of potential here. I think there's also some bison spawns that can be here. So yeah, there's a really cool place, but most importantly, there's just a lot of space here. But of course, most importantly, just a lot of open flat space, which is amazing for builders that have some big plans on their brain. If you want to build here, it's located right here on the map. And of course, another very iconic location here on Ragnarok is this bridge above the canyon going from one side to the other. And I do think you could make a really cool and unique base right on top of this bridge, rebuilding both of the different sides, maybe creating some really cool towers there. And of course, you could even build in the middle of the bridge, maybe turning this bridge into some kind of fortified castle or even a whole town on the side of the bridge. There's definitely a lot of cool opportunities here to rebuild this into something truly epic. And you can even expand it a little bit. On one side you have some pretty nice areas around here, even a little watchtower outpost here with this little cliff. So you could definitely do a little bit more expanding on this side, as well as of course on the other side, because there's also some decent spots right around here. So definitely lots of potential, and of course incredible views out over the entire canyon area. It's located right here on the map. And of course, there's a few really good locations here around the canyons that you could build at. Personally, I really like these shelves on this side. You have this one up here that you could definitely do a decent build at. You have the one right underneath it, which has some nice flat areas that you could build on. And of course, the beauty of this is that if you build on the edge like this, you'll have incredible views of the actual canyons themselves, while still having plenty of room to build on, because some of these shelves are quite flat, a lot of space around. And I mean, look at this view. This is a really cool view to have. And then you could actually, of course, also build on multiple of these layers if you really want to. Like, you could basically go from one layer to the other, build something really cool. But yeah, I do think lots of potential in this location, and a gorgeous view of the canyon area, which is of course one of the more iconic locations here on Ragnarok. And this one is located right over here on the map. But more iconic in the canyons are, of course, all of these amazing waterfalls. And you have so many of them, it's kind of hard to choose some place. But I think this one over here is actually really cool. You have, first of all, these waterfalls coming down, then turning into these giant waterfalls. You could build something in between. You could expand here over to the side. There's actually a little cave tunnel here that leads from one place to another little platform with another waterfall and some room to build. But more importantly, you could build around this lake on this platform here. You could even combine all of it, of course, to turn into a pretty big base location, because there's quite a lot here with some really epic views. And you could even add some buildings here on top of these cliffs, and then have all of this as a pretty epic view. My tribe is building here on the community servers, and we're gonna have like a castle above. We're gonna have like the main town right here, and then some farms and other buildings all the way around. Definitely a really cool location, especially if you enjoy waterfalls, and an amazing view of this canyon area. And this waterfall location is located right here on the map. I did also want to include some snow locations, and this one is still pretty safe because it's not in the murder snow, because let's be honest, that's a pretty tough place to live. But this one is actually quite nice. There's some really flat locations right around the edge of this lake, with of course amazing views of your surroundings, as well being right here next to this Glacier Lake. So you have the glaciers there in the distance, which is also pretty cool, and of course flat areas for you to build at, which is always convenient. That you could even build on top of the lake if you wanted to, of course. And yeah, if you want to build in the snow, I think this is definitely a decent contender without having to survive in those murderous conditions, and also not having a ice wyvern spawn right next door. So this one is located right over here on the map. And this spot is kind of still in the canyon area, but it is a really nice cliff platform up high. There's actually a pathway leading all the way up to it, so you can just walk all the way up to the top. As you can see, it goes all the way around, connects back down to this land bridge. So there's definitely some nice connections here to get here. And of course, very importantly, it's a pretty nice flat platform up here with a decent amount of space that you can turn into a base, even a little water spot, so you have your water access as well without having to go through any trouble. So that is pretty nice to have, and it's a pretty cool area, to be honest. Building up high would be a really cool spot for a castle or something like that, and you have some pretty cool views of the start of the canyons, the bridge and stuff, and of course a nice snowy mountain right next door. So if you want to build right over here, it's located on the map at these coordinates. And maybe you're looking to claim a nice island for yourself. Well, this one I think is a pretty good option. Not only does it have some pre-built structures like a pretty cool lighthouse, including a little building that you could definitely claim and turn into a little house yourself, as well as this underground docking area that you could definitely build something really cool in and then swim or sail in and out here with your water tames or your raft, which is of course a pretty cool addition to have kind of already built and ready to move into, which is very exciting. But there's more to this island. There's like different parts with like staircases and nice little areas that have been built up, and then on the opposite hill you have some more of these structures. So you kind of have a lot of layers here that you could utilize to build your base upon. As you can see, more layers going up. I think it would be really cool to do some kind of farms up here, have a cool building at the top. And for the rest of the island, it is a pretty decently sized island, so there's definitely more spaces that you could utilize for the rest of your base builds, or of course your breeding projects. And if you want to build right over here, it's located right here on the map. And once again, whether you want to go for your beach bob life or you just want to build a paradise at the beach, this is another really cool location, relatively close to the green up. And there's a very big bay here with an amazing, beautiful beach to build on, or to build something in the relatively shallow water, maybe a breeding pen or just a tropical paradise. There is some danger around here. Raptors, Rexes do seem to be spawning here, so definitely a very challenging bob beach, but you know, you could definitely build something cool. I think especially for an ocean base, this would be really nice because it's relatively shallow, so you wouldn't have to build too deep, but I think it's still deep enough to do most of your breeding, and then of course the further you go, the deeper it gets. But yeah, pretty cool location, just something a little bit different than all the other things we've seen, and it is located right over here on the map. Going a little bit further inland, closer to the green up, there's an absolutely gorgeous area here with these forests and all the rivers going through them. That looks really, really cool. And if you want to go for like a little log cabin base, I think these forests are a pretty good contender because it looks absolutely gorgeous. You've got beaver dams, etc. And this spot is right here. It's probably where I would settle down. There's plenty of decent options here to build at, like relatively flat areas, as well as a little ruin here that you could of course use as kind of the foundations, or kind of rebuild around it and build something really, really cool. It's a very nice area. You have some bridges as well, really cool, really nice views all the way around. And if you want to build in this valley, it's located right here on the map. And if you want to build big, you've got lots of breeding plans or whatever, this is a great location to do so, because as you can see, there is a very big flat plain here right next to the green up as well, so easily to find your way back to, and you should definitely have enough space to do some really cool building right along here. You've got some pretty cool views of your surroundings, as well as the mountainous areas leading around here. Of course, you've got river access, actually cool waterfall flowing down on that side. And if you follow the river up into the valley, it does get a little bit more hilly, but it is still a very pretty spot. So even if you go a little bit higher and you decide to build somewhere alongside this river, there's definitely a lot of cool options. But most importantly, of course, the giant flat plain here is definitely a good location if you like to build and if you like to build big. If you want to build here, well, you could just look for the green obelisk, of course, but these are the coordinates. Another pretty cool location is right here at this lake. You got some waterfalls. You could build something nice and cute right next to the lake and have some really cool views. But more importantly, there's actually a little cave here as well. So what I would do is go right up here. The entrance can be found at these coordinates. And then, I mean, it's technically a little bit of a snow build because there is some snow in this cave. But you've got a nice waterfall in front of your entrance. Good entrance that you could easily, of course, secure if you wanted to. And you could build a really cool little cave base here. There is a little bit of steeper terrain, so you know, a little bit more tricky maybe to find a good spot to build, but this little platform in the middle I think will probably be your best shot, as well as down here you have a decent amount of space. And as you can see, there's another entrance right here along this side with a nice pathway between these two waterfalls, which really makes for a really cool entrance as well. And this leads back down on the side of the canyon, so definitely also a really cool and unique location if you want to build in a cave. And yeah, I thought this snow cave was quite a cool find, and it connects two really beautiful areas together, so definitely not a bad spot to call home. And Ragnarok is, of course, the perfect map to rebuild a castle, but you could also definitely be building castles from scratch. And locations like this are perfect to do so. You have a nice big platform here on top of this cliff alongside the beach. You even have this little land bridge. You could build a cool tower right at the edge over there. But most importantly, you have a relatively flat area that is quite big to build your castle on. You do have connections back to the land, so it is also reachable by land tames, which is quite exciting, but quite easy to secure and make sure that nothing just walks up into your base. And you have a little bit of a raised area here as well, so definitely lots of good options to build something cool. And it should be safe enough to build here. Of course, you are close to the Wyvern Cave, but they really shouldn't be dragged away that far that often, so I think you're pretty safe here. And of course, you can always get some security in place to prevent any tragedies from happening. If you want to build right here, it's located right here on the map. And then this island next to the desert regions is actually also a really cool option. There's some ruined bridge here and a little staircase leading up, which is a quite cool addition to have to your base. And it's definitely a fun island to try and turn into your base. It might not be the flattest area, but it does look really cool, so there's definitely some potential here. And of course, you have water all around you, so even if you want to have like a little ocean pen, it should be workable. You have this little area in the middle as well. You might not be able to do much breeding there, but at least you've got a little bit of a cave right underneath you that you could utilize as part of your base. And probably I would do the main building right up top here. You even have a little step there and just some really cool location, as well as some pretty cool views here from the desert in the distance. And you're right close by to the Wyvern Cave, but safely out of reach of any wyverns wandering over. If you want to build at this location, it is located right here on the map. The next location is actually 2 in 1, because there's some big desert islands out here that you could definitely do some really cool building on in the safety or relative safety, or at least some peace and quiet, because you're quite far removed from the mainland. But as you can see, it's a pretty sizable island with a nice big platform cliff here that you could definitely utilize for some cool builds, as well as some nice sandy beaches around. So whether you want to build on this one or the one right next door that has a slightly different look, a little bit more greenery on it, but definitely some really cool landscape and definitely some potential for some really cool builds on top of it, as well as some ruined structures on here as well, as you can see that you could kind of turn into something part of your base. There's a lot of potential in both of these islands. So this one is located right over here, with the other one right next door located at these coordinates. Right along here, there's actually a really lovely valley with these snowy mountains in the background, these nice greeny hills with lovely trees, as well as the view of the desert canyons and the desert in the distance. So there's definitely a few of these flat areas that you could build something on. The first of is this one right over here, but actually along this entire valley, there's definitely a few of these platforms that you could easily turn into your base. And maybe my favorite is right up here, which is a decent platform with, again, amazing views located at these coordinates that definitely could serve you very, very well. And not too far from that other location, we have this giant cliff that looks out over the desert canyons, and pretty much all the things around you. Now, it might not be the most friendly area. There's definitely some dangers here that you would have to take care of, including rock golems, so definitely not the easiest spot, but it is a spot with a lot of space and relatively flat ground, as you can see. So if you can handle it, I do think there's a lot of potential here to build something cool, maybe a giant castle base overlooking all of these lands around you. So yeah, as long as you can take care of the dangers around you, especially those rock golems, then I think you're good. So as long as, I mean, if you cover the spawns and you prevent them from spawning again, I think this could be a really cool location. Beautiful views, and if you're wondering, and if you're capable of handling this location and you want to build here, it's located right here on the map. There's probably a few different locations that you could pick along all of these desert canyons with different variations of the biomes as well, but I thought this one was pretty nice. There's a little bit more greenery here, and for one, you have this lovely waterfall with a little lake right next to it. Of course, you have all these walkways down here, but this platform specifically, I think, could make for a great base location because it is completely separated from the rest of the world, so quite easy to make safe, but it is close enough that you could easily close this gap with some structures or even just some cliff platforms to cross the gap and make a safe crossing to the other side. But you will have complete safety on the platform itself, a decent amount of space, and of course it's completely flat, so quite easy to build something here. And if you want to build here, it is located right here on the map. And another really cool spot to build at, that is definitely this Lion King rock, which is just a really cool landmark, very recognizable as well, so easy to find your way back. And even though it might not be the safest area around, there is actually a decent potential here to build right at the backside of the rock itself with some platforms and a decent amount of space there. And there's also a little bit of a cavern system right here, so there's definitely a lot of metal that you might just want to keep as metal spawns rather than build in here, but there is definitely some potential if you want to go for a cool cave looking base to build in here as well, but you will be getting rid of a lot of metal spawns. So yeah, think carefully, but a mining base or a cave base, a dwarven build, whatever you want to do down there, there's definitely a lot of potential, and this location is right over here on the map. Now for the desert, I decided to play it safe and only pick some spots right on the edge because of course there's many terrible things spawning in the desert, death worms, gigas, etc. But you have these little ruins here of a little town as well as a lovely little bridge, and definitely a good place to start with a base, rebuilding these ruins and expanding all the way around them. And you have the bridge as well to do something with, so it's definitely a very nice location and some potential ruin rebuilding for those that enjoy it. But yeah, you have the greenery, you still have your water source right here, so it's a little bit easier, but you still have the instant access of the desert right next door. It is located right here on the map. But if you want to go for a rune rebuild project in the desert and you need a lot of space or just a big challenge, these desert ruins are of course the best option, because this is an absolute giant location with a lot of potential and a lot of space. There is, well, just giant platform that you could utilize. There's a lot of these giant rooms that you could easily turn into different parts of your base, with so many of them to utilize. And of course, you've got these platforms in front as well, and you can even build on top of this to kind of expand. It goes to the side. You have that dome there, you have another one there, you have more over there. It is a very big location, very cool, and easily turned into a giant base for all of your different breeding projects, storage, or whatever you need in here. There is a lot of potential. And of course, there is a little bit more down here as well. A little bit more tricky to build this, because some of this isn't really flat. This might serve you quite well, but especially on the other side, you'll see not so flat areas, so it might be a little bit more tricky to rebuild it, but you could definitely still utilize some of these areas in some ways. And it's just a really cool looking location, of course. So if you want to go for a desert base and you like ruins, this is definitely one with a lot of potential. But to be honest, if you just start rebuilding this main structure, I'll think you'll find you'll have an incredible amount of space and a pretty awesome location to call home. And it is located right over here on the map. And then finally, a pretty dangerous location right next to the Wyvern Cave is the cave located right up here. There's a few different entrances, but it's around these coordinates, and you have your little main cave with a little river flowing through, so plenty of water access, and as long as you secure it, you have a decent amount of space. You have a path going out from this side, but that is a dangerous path because there is, of course, definitely wyverns that are going to be spawning around there. But the rest of the cave, there's definitely a lot of potential to build something really cool in here, like a cool dragon's den. And then there's a few ways actually to get out of the cave into the rest of the land back here as well. And then I think there's even another entrance down here too. So there's a few ways to get in and out of this cave. And well, yeah, if you're brave enough and you want to live close by to the wyverns, or maybe you just want to have a dragon's den outpost here so you can easily go and collect your dragon egg, and maybe make sure that the entrance is something only you can fit through and not the wyvern neighbors, then this could definitely be a cool base. But yeah, be aware, because there's quite a lot of wyvern spawns all the way around it, and I really wish it was an option to build it here, because this is such a cool location now, this wyvern cave, that it would be so epic to build in here. But yeah, at least for survival, not a very realistic or practical place to try and be in without, you know, dying. Just getting some eggs here. But yeah, I do think it would be nice to live close by if you want to get those wyvern eggs. And there we go. Those were 50 of the best base locations on Ragnarok, in my opinion, some of my favorites. Let me know down in the comments below where you will be building, and if there's any other locations that I should check out or that people should know about, leave a comment as well. Of course, if you enjoyed these types of videos and you want to see more, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, like the video to really help me out. And of course, I'll be starting plenty of builds in a lot of these locations very, very soon, so look forward to that. For now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video or stream. Goodbye.